Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. Get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. A former Border Patrol sector chief told lawmakers that he was blocked from informing the public about migrants who may be potential terror threats, as he says the Biden administration wants to downplay the threat. Republican North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson denied involvement in an alleged pornography scandal that surfaced yesterday, vowing to remain in the race to become the North Carolina's next governor. South Carolina Supreme Court yesterday refused to stop the execution of Freddie Owens, who is set to die by lethal injection later today in the state's first execution in 13 years. And also today is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in Greenville. Over 600 law enforcement officers will drive through the downtown Greenville airport for a breakfast and gift bag filled with items donated by the community.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Border Patrol saw groups of hundreds and thousands coming into the United States and turning themselves in. These numbers pulled 80, 90, sometimes 100% of the agents on duty away from the border. Border Patrol zones across Texas, Arizona, and California had no agent presence for weeks and months at a time. Those who did not want to be caught could simply walk in. We have no idea who and what entered our country over this time. Throughout 2022 and 23, I sent agents to Texas and Arizona to count gotaways. Those sectors could not even put enough agents in the field to see what they'd missed. Simultaneously, in San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border.
Wow, that is the voice of a former Border Patrol sector chief who told lawmakers that he was blocked from informing the public about the truth. Now we all know this was happening, didn't we? Kamala Harris was appointed the border czar by Joe Biden very early on in the administration, within the first month or so. And we know that the Biden administration has all along said that there is no crisis at the border. They've denied it. Yet we know that with the thousands and thousands pouring into our country daily, that there is a problem. Joe Biden did not want to admit it. Kamala Harris does not want to admit it. But when you listen to this former San Diego sector chief patrol, Aaron Heitke is his name, as he told lawmakers on the House Homeland Security Committee that the Biden-Harris administration wanted the appearance that there was no problem at the border. There's no problem there. Don't worry about it. Mr. Heitke said that he was told he couldn't release information about the increase in the flow of illegals coming into our country. The remarks came as part of a Homeland Security Committee hearing called A Country Without Borders, How Biden-Harris's Open Borders policies have undermined our safety and security. And their policies have. We don't know who's in our country. I don't want to be an alarmist here, but it's the truth. When you have, and we don't know what the real number is. I mean, the 15 million, 20 million, those numbers are tossed around. But when you have that many people who the Biden-Harris administration have allowed to come into our country, and we don't know who they are, we got a problem. We have a problem, and how anybody That issue alone. Now, I know there are a lot of issues going into to the November general election. The economy appears to be the top issue, and it should be. Immigration, a close second. But the idea that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have allowed these people to come into our country, and in some cases have encouraged them, in some cases have literally paid for their flights to come in, that alone is reason for Kamala Harris to be fired and sent back home to California, and Joe Biden to Delaware. Representative Mark Green, chairman of the committee, told the committee, as we continue to witness Biden and Harris's resistance to doing anything meaningful about this disaster, we have to ask why. Why did they let the crisis take place, and why have they let it continue? Well, I'll tell you why. They don't care. They don't care about our country. They don't care. And what is their motivation? I truly don't know that, unless it is, in fact, that they are hopeful that someday these people can be registered to vote and that they can count them as Democrat votes. That's the only potential reason. Now, there's a lot of things that are going to have to happen before that can take place. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But why would you allow people to come in and hurt your own country? That's enough, in my mind, to impeach Joe Biden, and he should have been run out of office long before now. Mr. Heike said that, told the committee that he would release illegal aliens by hundreds each day, by hundreds, and flights were provided to send migrants from San Diego to Texas at approximately $150,000 per chartered flight. He also testified that he'd shut down the San Diego traffic checkpoints to divert resources to the border, and that those checkpoints are crucial for the interdiction of drugs like fentanyl. Democrats in the administration have accused Republicans of failing to back funding and reform bills, including a bipartisan Senate bill released this year. And they say that recent moves by the administration are working to bring down border encounters and secure the border. They would like to tell you, and at the end of this, or part of this hearing yesterday, you had some of the Democrat members of this committee claiming that border crossings had decreased, that we were at an all-time low. Wow. In other news yesterday, Republican North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who's running for governor, is the Republican nominee there, is caught up in an alleged pornography scandal. This all came about yesterday after some published reports by CNN alleging Robinson's previous use of a pornography site called Nude Africa, where he allegedly messaged with fellow users regarding peeping on women in locker rooms as a teenager, describing himself as a black Nazi and declaring a fondness for transgender pornography. Just before the report was published, Robinson posted a video to his X account vowing to stay in the race while calling the then anticipated report tabloid trash.
Hey guys, Lieutenant Governor Robinson and your Republican nominee for governor as well, of course. Well, guys, the news media is at it again. My opponent is at it again. You all have seen the half-truths and outright lies of Josh Stein on these ads over and over again. And now a story leaked by him to CNN is appearing now. Let me reassure you, the things that you will see in that story, those are not the words of Mark Robinson. You know my words, you know my character, and you know that I have been completely transparent in this race and before. Folks, this race right now, our opponents are desperate to shift the focus here from the substantive issues and focus on what you are concerned with to salacious tabloid trash. We cannot allow that to happen. And folks, we've seen this type of stuff in the past as well. Clarence Thomas famously once said he was the victim of a high-tech lynching. Well, it looks like Mark Robinson is too, by a man who refuses to stand on stage and debate me about the real issues that face you. Instead, they want to focus on salacious tabloid lies. We're not going to let them do that. We are staying in this race. We are in it to win it. And we know that with your help, we will. God bless you. And we will see you where? On the campaign trail.
CNN's report alleged that Robinson used a pseudonym on the porn site, Minisold, to discuss how he enjoys watching transgender pornography, as well as recounting how he allegedly peeped on women in a locker room as a 14-year-old. Robinson allegedly wrote on Nude Africa, peeping on women as a teenager, quote, "I came to a spot that was a dead end but had two big vent covers over it. It just so happened it overlooked the showers. I sat there for about an hour and watched as several girls came in and showered." In another post in 2010, CNN reported Robinson allegedly stated, "I'm a black Nazi," while discussing black Republicans. The alleged use of the chat forums played out between 2008 and 2012, according to CNN, well before Robinson entered the political scene, of course, when he announced his run for lieutenant governor in 2019. Robinson blamed his Democrat opponent, North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein, for leaking the allegations to the media. In comments to CNN, Robinson again denied the report, saying, "This is not us. These are not our words, and this is not anything that is characteristic of me. I'm not going to get into the minutia of how somebody manufactured this. These are salacious tabloid lies." Reports mounted early yesterday that Robinson was allegedly facing pressure from the Republican Party to drop out. Some saying that because he was getting close to the deadline, which evidently is today, to drop out, that he needed to go ahead and remove himself from the ticket. Robinson vowed he will remain a candidate in the November general election. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. PhD Weight Loss wants you to know, yes, you can. You can get back to your ideal healthy weight. Yes, you can get back into sizes you thought you'd never see again. And yes, you can get rid of that harmful belly fat, all without becoming dependent on medication loaded with side effects. Hi, it's Joey Hudson here. PhD Weight Loss encourages and equips you to lose weight the healthy, natural way and keep it all for the rest of your life. Dr. Ashley Lucas, a licensed registered nutritionist, developed a solid plan that works. Trust me, I lost 30 pounds. You see, PhD Weight Loss removes the guesswork. They literally tell you exactly what to eat each day while you watch the pounds melt away. But they also teach you to think about food differently and to learn to anticipate and navigate situations that make you want to indulge. PhD coaches will teach you to believe finally that yes, you can do it. With no gimmicks or lifelong medications, finally lose the weight and keep it off. Yes, you can. Call today. PhD Weight Loss, 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Joining me on the guest line today, Congressman William Timmons from my home area, from the 4th District of South Carolina. Welcome, Congressman. How are you?
Joey, good morning. Great to be with you.
Always a pleasure. You know, you and I typically do Tuesday with Timmons. We had to delay that a bit. It's Thursday with Timmons today.
I'm okay with that because this is a little later in the morning, and it makes for a much more enjoyable coffee.
I hear. Let's start with the most recent assassination attempt on President Donald Trump this past Sunday. The Secret Service says it needs more resources if they're going to be able to keep the former president safe. Evidently, during a phone call with President Biden earlier this week, Biden told President Trump that they needed more resources, and that would have to come from you guys, that Congress would have to approve more funding. Now, you serve on the House Oversight Committee. You guys are already investigating the July 13th attempt on President Trump's life. Talk with us about where you are on that and what you see as far as this most recent attempt.
Joey, it's sad and hilarious that we're talking about the most recent attempt. I mean, we're on number 2. How many more are we going to have? And, the fact that the Secret Service is saying they don't have sufficient resources, for the last 8 years, Congress has appropriated more than requested, in excess of the Secret Service budget request every year. This isn't hard. This is about their priorities. And, look, you go back to the initial attempt on his life from Crooks. Jill Biden conveniently had it wasn't a rally. It was a event she had to go to in Pittsburgh, and she pulled half of his detail away, and she was in a hotel. The risk profile was far lower, and I mean, she's really not a high-profile target. So the Secret Service needs to prioritize Donald Trump. They don't need more money. We're going to give them more money. We're going to be voting on something tomorrow that will give them additional resources and that will mandate that both nominees have identical coverage. And that's going to take a lot of resources away from their other priorities. But this should be their number one priority. Keeping both Vice President Harris and President Trump, former President, future President Trump, and President Biden safe should literally be the only thing that they care about. And it's not that hard. We gave them $3+ billion. They need to do their job.
Yeah. Congressman William Timmons with me today. All right, let's go back to something you said just a minute ago, Congressman. You said that you had that you guys had given them more money than they requested in the past?
Every year for the last 8 years.
Wow. And they say that's not enough.
I mean, we can only give you more than what you ask for. I mean, it's just kind of silly. Wow. But hey, look, there shouldn't be a budget for what it requires to keep the future leaders of our country safe. And that's not a partisan issue. We have a lot of Democrats that are just shaking their heads going, how are we still talking about this? I mean, the first time where he actually got shot in the ear should have been the wake-up call that the Secret Service heard. And then there's another shooter. I mean, it's really just it's shocking. And I'm sure a lot of people listening are wondering if it's intentional. And, the thing that we're doing right now with this select committee to investigate the initial shooting, which again is ridiculous that we're talking about too now. That's a bipartisan effort to figure out what went wrong and whether there was malevolence or incompetence. And that's the question that the American people want to know. Was this just incompetence or was it malevolence?
Yeah. Congressman Timmons, you serve on the House Oversight Committee. You've been in the middle of this. Some of your colleagues in Congress, both Democrat and Republican, and you're right, this is a bipartisan issue because as much as I do not care for Kamala Harris and I do not want her sitting in the Oval Office, I also want her to be safe. And I think we all want that for our candidates. And a political nominee for a major party in the United States of America should not fear for his or her life for sure. Now, some of your Democrat colleagues have expressed outrage and surprise at some of the details that have come out in the investigation. Can you share some of the things that maybe have surprised you as you have looked into this?
Well, let's go back to what you just said. I mean, the fact that RFK, who was a nominee for a political party, was refused any degree of security when his father and uncle were both killed while being political candidates. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. But, some of the details that we're looking at, Crooks was walking around for hours. The Secret Service was given almost an hour of notice that there was someone on the roof. The line of sight is just absurd. The issue is the perimeter and where they were going to secure, how far away, 300 yards. I can teach you how to use a AR and hit a target as big as a watermelon in an hour using an AR from 300 yards. It's not hard. I mean, it's not hard at all, actually. So, I mean, the fact that that was not within the perimeter is just silly. I mean, and there were people all around him. And it took civilians to be like, what are y'all doing? There's a guy up there with a gun. I mean, and they still let him get a shot off? It's just absurd.
Yeah, it is absurd, Congressman. William Timmons with me today from the 4th District of South Carolina, my congressman in South Carolina. Congressman, Fox News is reporting this morning that the FBI received a tip on Ryan Ruth in 2019. They also reported that between 1980 and 2010, Ruth had more than 100 interactions with law enforcement, from charges ranging from writing bad checks, felony firearms possession, possession of a stolen vehicle, multiple counts of a possession of a weapon of mass destruction. How did this guy? How did he slip through? And how was he at the fence with a gun ready to fire shots at President Donald Trump?
We have so many laws and so many resources to prevent people from committing crimes. And I just think the FBI continues to fall short. And I mean, again, is it incompetence or malevolence? That's the question the American people want to know, because there's so many signs that this person is a danger to the community. But every time that we have a tragedy happen in this country, there's always signs. And in many cases, there's warnings within minutes or hours before. And again, we just need to do our jobs better. We need to prioritize the safety and security of our society, not just our political candidates. I mean, all the Democrats want to change all the laws. They need new gun laws, different gun laws. I'm like, no, just enforce the law. Just enforce the law and do your job. And again, we give the FBI billions of dollars. We give the Secret Service billions of dollars. Do your damn job.
Yep. Congressman William Timmons with me today. One final thing, and I know you have to run because you have a committee meeting this morning. The Teamsters announced yesterday they will not be endorsing Kamala Harris. Now, they have endorsed the Democrat nominee for president since 1992. Do you think this is their way of sort of backhandingly endorsing Donald Trump? Because they did release their internal polling, which showed almost 60% of Teamsters support Donald Trump.
Well, that poll is all that matters. And on Election Day here, coming up in 47 days, the Teamsters are going to vote overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. And that tells you how bad of a job the Biden administration, how bad of a job Vice President Harris has done over the last 4 years. They're tired of them destroying the American dream. They're tired of paying more for groceries, not being able to buy a home they've been saving up for, paying more at the pump. They're tired of the weakness we show in the global community. They're tired of the wars, and they know that President Trump will fix all that. And that's why they're going to vote for President Trump in November. And that's why we're going to get our country back on track, because the American people are sick and tired of Democrat policies. It's as simple as that.
Yep. Congressman William Timmons, is always a pleasure. Appreciate your time this morning. Be safe and have a blessed day.
Great to be with you.
Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse are proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself, if you're looking for a new appliance, to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. Israeli officials said yesterday that they were warning residents in the north to stay inside or remain near bomb shelters after the Israeli Air Force struck hundreds of Hezbollah military targets inside of Lebanon. The Israeli Air Force, using intelligence from the Israeli Defense Forces, struck about 100 launchers, additional terrorist infrastructure sites comprising about 1,000 barrels, they said. Israeli officials said that these barrels were ready to be used in the immediate future to fire towards Israeli territory. It was not immediately clear if there were any casualties as a result of the attacks. The strike comes just days, of course, after Israel targeted thousands of Hezbollah pagers and walkie-talkies that have been widely blamed on Israel. Yesterday, it was confirmed by intelligence sources within the United States government that Israel was, in fact, responsible for the pages and the walkie-talkie attacks that happened this week. Speaking for the first time since back-to-back attacks yesterday, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah described the mass bombing of devices as a severe blow and threatened retaliation. During a speech, Hezbollah struck at least 4 times in northern Israel, and 2 Israeli soldiers were killed in a strike earlier yesterday. Israeli warplanes flew low over Beirut while Nasrallah spoke, and broke the sound barrier, scattering birds and prompting people in houses and offices to quickly open windows to prevent them from shattering. Earlier yesterday, Hezbollah said that it had targeted 3 Israeli military positions near the border, 2 of them with drones. Israeli hospitals reported 8 people lightly or moderately injured. Look, this is a real problem. This is probably going to lead to another war in Israel's north, as Hezbollah probably is going to retaliate as a result of the pager attacks and the walkie-talkie attacks this week. And I'm not sure if Israel intended to provoke them, if that's why the timing of these attacks, or if Israel was just ready just to have this over with, ready to confront them and let what happens. The attacks have heightened fears, of course. The Israeli people have spent the last 11 months in nearly daily exchanges of fire in the south with the Hamas terrorists, and pretty much the same thing, but on a lesser scale, in the north with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is Iranian-backed. Hezbollah has been attacking the border towns in the north since last October as well. Israel has responded to Hezbollah's attacks with strikes in South Lebanon, has struck senior figures from the group in the capital of Beirut. The exchanges have killed hundreds in Lebanon and dozens in Israel and forced the evacuation of tens of thousands of residents on each side of the border. Things are rough. Things are tough right now in that whole region. It is like a powder keg ready to explode, if it hasn't already. Israeli leaders have stepped up warnings in recent weeks of a potential larger military operation against Hezbollah, saying that they are determined to stop the group's fire to allow tens of thousands of Israelis to return homes near the border. I mean, you think about this. For months now, you've had people of Israel displaced, that they had to go further inland. That northern area, and I've been there before, it's like looking over a chain link fence into your neighbor's yard. That's how close things are, and that's how wide open things are. This whole attack this week, though, has really intrigued me with the pagers and the walkie-talkies. Think about what Israel had to do to accomplish that. And this is not something that they just decided to do in the last few weeks. This had to have planning and orchestration going on for probably months. Because first off, and there's no indication, I don't know that we'll ever know just how those pagers, how the explosive devices were inserted in those pagers and those walkie-talkies. And was it one large shipment that just happened to be distributed around the country? How did suddenly all of Hezbollah's known terrorists, end up with an explosive device in their pager? But the speculation is that Israel somehow intercepted shipments of these devices and were able to insert the explosive devices that could be detonated by just sending a code, and then completing the shipment to Hezbollah. Now, you got to know, and when the Hezbollah leader says that this has basically gotten their attention, that it's been quite the week for them, that's probably an understatement. What do you say? A severe blow. Because it has accomplished exactly what Israel wanted it to accomplish. The Israeli intelligence operation that prompted the thousands of booby-trap pagers, walkie-talkies, and other electronic devices exploding by remote control, this has significantly damaged the ability of the Lebanese terror group to fight Israel because they can't communicate. That was their source of communication. They don't use cell phones because cell phones are easily tracked. They thought that pagers and walkie-talkies were safe. But surprise, Israel had thought about that and somehow was able to get these booby-trapped. So why would Israel order these blasts now? Speculation is that this northern region where Hezbollah has been launching near daily airstrikes, according to Nicholas Carl, who is a research manager for the American Enterprise Institute's Critical Threats Project, he said Israeli senior political and military leaders have been very clear in this time that they see the security situation along their northern border as unsustainable. So if they're thinking that, well, nothing's going to improve, so we got to take the offensive here, and they've been planning this for a long, long time, they just decided, well, this is the time. This is the week to do this. Again, exactly what comes next, nobody knows. But the pager operation shows that Israel has already been devoting resources, a lot of thought, as to how they're going to combat Hezbollah long before this war with Hamas began. Regardless of whether more attacks are soon to come, Israel's recent blasts have taken a toll on Hezbollah's and has become Hezbollah's worst nightmare. Hezbollah is not used to internal chaos. Hezbollah will now be overly cautious about any outside devices it acquires. Look, if I'm a terrorist right now, I don't want a pager. I don't want a walkie-talkie. I'm not going to get a cell phone because I know that it's worse. So how am I going to communicate with my fellow terrorists? Smoke signals? I mean, I say that in jest, but really, how are they? The group shifted to using pagers out of concern of Israel's ability to hack and track more modern technology and capabilities with GPS built in, like the cell phones. Now that they can't use pagers reliably, that they can't use walkie-talkies reliably, Hezbollah must regroup to come up with a new communications tactic. I don't know what that is. But I can assure you they'll probably try to come up with something. They'll try to figure it out, because I don't think they're just going to wave the white flag because suddenly they can't use their pagers. On Monday, about 2,800 people were injured. This was a widespread attack. And yes, you've probably seen some of the videos. I know I've seen some on social media of the pagers just literally exploding. I saw one video yesterday. It was of a retail store that evidently sold pagers and walkie-talkies, and it literally had these devices exploding in the glass cases and breaking the glass cases. You had the employees of this shop literally fleeing, trying to get out of the building. Israel's being criticized because, unfortunately, as a result of these attacks, some women and children, some innocent civilians have been injured as well. Because you think about it again, when they put this into action, put this into motion, they didn't know where these people were going to be when they happened to decide to detonate the devices. So in some cases, unfortunately, the Hezbollah terrorists could have been sitting down for lunch with their family when their device exploded. They could have been visiting someone in a nursing home. They could have been in church, for that matter. But Israel had no way of knowing, obviously, where they would be when the time came for them to detonate the devices. But what are you going to do? Even Kamala Harris continues to agree that Israel has the right to defend itself. Now, some people could say, well, that's not defending yourself. That's taking the offense to Hezbollah. But sometimes you can't sit back and wait, right? Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. On our text line today, Tony says, Joey, sounds to me like Hillary Clinton is still bitter from the 2016 election of losing to Trump. Go Trump 2024. You know, Hillary saying that she's a bit bitter is an understatement, Tony. I think Hillary Clinton is probably filled with rage against Donald Trump. She can't stand the man because she still can't believe that he beat her in 2016. She just can't believe it. She knew that she was going to be moving in to the White House, and this time she was going to be the boss, not Bill Clinton. Texter says, I want to have the brains of people who would vote for Harris analyzed. Do folks not know that she's responsible for our country becoming third world? And if they think she has a good disposition, think again. Nobody can work for that mean woman. Americans, are you that stupid? Clinton needs to shut the heck up. We are sick of her mouth too. Trump 2024. Appreciate your text. I love your text. You can send them to me. Email me directly to joey@joeyhudson.com. Albert writes on the text line, polls only show the opinions of those who are polled. I'm a 70-year-old white male Republican who hasn't received a call from a polling organization this election cycle. How many others who match my profile are intentionally left out of the polls? You know, Albert, I ask my friends sometimes, I ask my acquaintances, I ask my coworkers if they have ever been called. I find it hard to find anyone who has been called, who has been polled. So you make a good point. Now, polling is a science. And so they come up with their sample. You know, how many white males, for example, they have to call, how many black males, how many women, how many Hispanics. So they have it down to a science. Now, it's not always reliable. Ask Hillary Clinton. Speaking of Hillary, ask her. Because in 2016, she was going to win easily. Donald Trump didn't have a chance. He proved them wrong. And so that's why you can't just totally, when it comes to candidates, you can't rely on polls. Now, issues may be a little bit different because some people will tell you how they really feel about an issue. For example, if someone says, all right, what are your 5 top issues of how you're going to vote in November? They'll tell you that the economy is number 1. They'll tell you immigration is number 2. They may tell you abortion is number 3. And telling you about issues, that's one thing. But it gets a little more personal, doesn't it, to actually say who I'm going to vote for. So sometimes people will fib a little when it comes to who they're going to vote for, or they just don't tell you at all. Texture says, is Israel confirming who is around the pagers before blowing them? Women, children? They seem no different from their enemies. I'm not a fan of either side and a Trump fan. Going to a Trump boat parade on Lake Greenwood this week. Oh, there's a Trump parade? A boat parade on Greenwood? Hey, some of you take some pictures and email them to me or text them to me. I'd love to get some photos from Lake Greenwood this weekend. Please send them to me. And as far as your question about women, children, as I mentioned a little bit earlier in today's show, unfortunately, yeah, there were some women and some children who were injured as a result of a pager or a walkie-talkie exploding. Because, again, you had no way of knowing where these terrorists were going to be when you detonated the explosive device. So they were the casualty. Texter says, people don't realize how intelligent the people of Israel are. Their technology is A+. They have invented so many things that the world uses, yet don't have a clue as to who the creator is. And you're right. People don't think of Israel as being a very technology-savvy country, but they are. They're very smart people. And they've invented some things that you and I use that we don't even realize came from Israel to begin with. Texter, good morning, Joey. I'm curious, what did P. Diddy do to upset the Democrat establishment? He was always one of their darlings, the communists eating their own. Boy, that guy is in big trouble. He may not see the light of day, and his billions of dollars are not going to help him. In fact, right now, because he is like a billionaire, that's why he's sitting in jail, because he's a flight risk. When you have that much money, you have resources at your hand, and they're not going to turn you loose because they know you'll flee. You'll go to a country that will not extradite you. Texter, good morning, Joey. I believe Harris needs to tell her policies. As Hillary stated, they don't know Harris. As far as a female president, I have no problem with that if they can do the job. Harris can't because she is a proven liar and a proven Marxist. You're right. Forget. I don't have a problem with a female president either, as long as it's a qualified female president. Hillary Clinton wasn't qualified to be president, nor is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris isn't even qualified to be vice president. She shouldn't be vice president now. Look what it's gotten us, an open border. Texter says, great job, Ellen. Although shocked, I'm excited to see this. Hopefully she will not back down to the lib pressure of the South Carolina Education Association, saying that this partnership is a danger. By the way, I'm Melanie, a 25-year school teacher at GCS. Thank you, Melanie. This, of course, in reference to our superintendent of education, Ellen Weaver, approving Dennis Prager's PragerU to be distributed in schools in South Carolina. It's an elective. It's not a mandated class, but boy, the libs with the South Carolina Education Association, it has flipped them upside down. Now, as I read some of their comments and I saw some of their online posts and the news reports interviewing some of these teachers, the first thing that came to my mind, it's okay to be teaching these young kids about transgenders and about the LGBTQ community. That's okay. But when you have Dennis Prager, a fellow conservative, and a smart guy, by the way, if you are not familiar with PragerU, you should get familiar. PragerU is brilliant. He has millions and millions of people subscribing to PragerU. We need curriculum like this in our schools. So I can see why they'd be upset. I agree with you. I hope and I think Ellen Weaver will not bend. I don't see her backing up on this one for sure. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.